Start.
Oh my God. I can't believe we're laughing already. Hello, everyone, and welcome. It is the Outdoor Football Podcast. I am Dana OG. With me, of course, we have Sonia Greenfield and we have Lisa Johnson. Kate is coming. Kate decided to go to dinner with her family. And so she's running late. And she had her daughter text us to tell us pretty much so she wouldn't get in trouble. I'm pretty sure that's exactly why she did it, is so she wouldn't get in trouble. But we love you, Kate, and we're glad that you're going to join us here in just a little bit. We're super excited because here in a few minutes, we're going to have Jeanna Kelley from SBNation join us.
Yes. That's going to be fun.
Out there. She just sounds like she'd be part of the gang here, ladies.
Easily.
Awesome. Oh, yeah. Love her. Okay. But first, I want to hear about your weekend. It was a big holiday weekend. We got extra days off from work. Well, some of us got extra days off from work. Lisa, how was your weekend?
It was uneventful.
That's a good thing sometimes.
When I can say a weekend's uneventful, that is good news.
You didn't get called into work or anything because that always happens.
And it was amazing. I don't know how I got 4 days off in a row without getting called in. Especially with the fireworks and everything. I was like, I thought, sure, I'm not going to get out of this. I'm going to maybe 1 or 2 days, but man, we just, and I think we have a lot. I think a lot, honestly, had to do with this tropical storm that's battering the West Coast right now. I think everybody was just kind of batten down the hatches and kind of in a wait and see here in South Florida. So I don't want to say it's a good thing because anytime you get tropical storms and hurricanes here, it's not a good thing. But amazingly, the East Coast stayed quiet. I think everybody was just on standby. So I think it was just very quiet and uneventful.
Mm-hmm. That's always a very good thing.
Very good.
Did you have family over? Did all those grandkids come over?
Yeah, we went and did the barbecue firework thing, and it was great. Every year my family goes beyond big mortars. It was, crazy. But that's the part of being the
Florida.
parent.
You can do that in Florida.
They're off the chain down here. But, that's the part of being the parent that I love. You just sit in the chair and watch and then go home.
Remind me to DM you something, Lisa. You'll laugh.
Sonia, how was your weekend?
My weekend was fantastic. It was full of rest but fun. My dad is from the East Coast. He's from Virginia. And every summer we used to get crabs when we went down to go visit my grandma and stuff like that. Y'all, my dad ordered crabs from the East Coast. Look at them.
I know.
Oh my God, they were so good.
This girl posts on Instagram this table covered like with all this delicious looking seafood, and I was like, "Where the hell is my invite?"
That's what I was looking for. I didn't see
and I wanted to be invited.
Next summer, crabs and beer. Next summer, crabs and beer.
No damn crab. Was no damn crab getting shared on that crab.
Is all me.
It looked amazing. It really did. I was so jealous real quick.
And then we went to one of my friend's house from growing up, and we just kind of hung out there for a couple hours, and that was great. She kept trying to give me wine slushies, and of course I was taking them, and So that was
Sonia and her wine slushies. I've never heard of that before.
Wine slushy and crab.
No, the wine slushies were after the crab.
Okay.
That's hilarious. Oh my goodness. That's awesome. I had a house full this weekend.
Oh, nice.
We had recently moved during this off season. We moved to a new area of Kansas City, and we are up on a hill on this bluff. And I told everyone, I was like, I really think that it'll be good to be at our house on the 4th. Because we have such a clear view. There's one part where we can actually see all the way to downtown Kansas City. And I just had a feeling we would get to watch all these fireworks. And I'm not kidding you. I could see like 4 different city fireworks going off. It was just amazing. And so I was real excited. We had a great time. But then on Monday, because my husband had the day off from work, we stained the deck. I'm like, this is a great way to finish the weekend. Let's stain the deck. Let's do manual labor in 92-degree weather in Kansas City.
Why not?
It was not all that fun. But that's okay. But it was very fun.
Amazing. And I think I want to just sleep in your living room for a couple of days to enjoy that view because it looks great.
You know you can. Come on and do it.
Exactly.
I did want to say one thing. I was going to say, we were really lucky. There's no one was injured with fireworks, and it sounds like you guys had a good. Of course, we've heard about. And I am so sorry. I'm not even going to attempt to say his name. That poor hockey player who was killed. He was a goalie, and I can't remember. I feel terrible. I should have looked it up before we started. That was so sad and horrifying. He was 24 injury.
24 years old.
24. It was awful. And our thoughts go out to his family for sure. All right. So a couple minutes before Kate and Jeanna come here in just a few minutes, I wanted to talk just for a little bit, some news that came out today. So N'Keal Harry from the Patriots has decided he wants to trade. And the first thing literally that came to my brain was, training camp starts.
Right, it's right around the corner.
Like, right around the corner. Are we a little behind here? What happened? I'm not even really all that sure what happened. So I didn't read through it. Did either one of you guys see the details? Did we see this coming? Lisa, did you see it coming?
The only thing I did was I read the statement from his agent who just said his productivity was way down. So, and he said that being a former first round player, it was lower than their expectations, that he's definitely a better player than what the Patriots are using him for. They felt he felt underused, I guess, was just not. And so his agent said he has tried to talk to the Patriots several times and has gotten nowhere. And so basically he sat down with him and they thought that a fresh start was what they needed. But what I really like is, and I think it's with everybody's fan base, it's, we'll take them. It's immediate. Is it not with everybody's fan base? Next thing I hear, next thing Dolphins Twitter fires up. Oh, well, we can use them. We've got like 180 receivers already right now. So, but I just love that. It's like everybody all of a sudden could use him.
Oh, I'm telling you, it was the same thing. There was a conversation in the Hawk Blogger Patreon in their Slack group that they talk about over there for Seattle fans. And everyone's like, well, I would trade X player in a 7th round pick for him. Duh, everybody would. What? I mean, it's not like you're the only one. Do you know what I mean? So I think it's exactly what I saw too. The Vikings, the Bears. There was like a million teams. Everybody. Like, oh, we have space for, we have a spot for him. He needs to come here. I thought that was hilarious.
Not my Browns. We're good.
You're good. Well,
usually at the front of that, we'll take whoever's available. No, we're good right now. Thank you.
Right now on paper, it looks beautiful.
Yes.
Welcome in, Kate.
Hey, sorry I'm late. Glad you guys went on without me.
That's all right. Did you have a good 4th?
I did. Daughter number 2's birthday is tomorrow, so it's hard to get the whole family available on one night. And they picked today, and I'm like, ladies, I got to be home by 8 o'clock. I got important things to do. I got that whole mom guilt from the girls. I'm driving as fast as I can.
No, you did great. I did. I'm glad you're here.
Sunburn myself because I always forget to sunburn my face, to suntan lotion my face. So like everything else, I'm putting lotion and I'm spraying. And then I look in the mirror and I have these raccoon things from my sunglasses and my forehead is beet red. I'm like, yeah. Doesn't matter how old you are. I still don't know how to do sunscreen properly.
Oh, that's a northern thing. That's a northern thing.
Yeah, it's an Ohio thing.
No, it's not.
Oh, yes, it is.
Yeah, it is because I burn every year. So go ahead. Keep going. I'm going to stop talking.
It was the hottest 2 days of the summer, and I decided to spend them both doing mulch and planting flowers and stuff. So,
so fun.
Yeah.
So anyway, back to Harry. I wanted to give this back on him. I'm a little surprised. We know the Patriots are kind of going through a little
rebuild,
right?
Rebuild.
But I'm going to ask you this: does Bill Belichick have a rebuild in him? I mean, he cruised for 20 years.
I think you're right.
I like how we're all like, "Ooh, that's."
I know. No one answers. Does he have a rebuild in him?
So the tricky part of that question is not. I fully believe Bill Belichick is capable of rebuilding a football team. The question is will he be given the power and the authority and the choices to pick the people that he needs to do that rebuild? And I don't know that he has, especially without Brady, that he will be able to say, this is the quarterback I want, and these are the things that I need to go with him to really do the rebuild correctly. I don't know if he has that much control.
I don't know. I mean, for Christ's sake, at some point you got to be like, I just want to go sit on my boat. I don't want to go do I don't want to teach a new quarterback how to play. Like, I don't know, but maybe it's just in him and they don't know, he doesn't know anything else, which would make a lot of sense.
But I think he wants to win without Tom.
I agree. I think
honestly, what would it say for him if he retired like tomorrow? Let's just say he retired. What's his bar? I think he'll always be overshadowed by Brady, that he had Brady.
I think he's already going to be overshadowed by Brady for sure.
He couldn't win without Brady.
I think that's going to be a huge thing.
That's such a hard thing to say for people like us who understand football and understand that it's really not just one player, and who understand that Brady
quarterback
Brady himself, whether you like him or you hate him, had the ability to make the people that played with him better than the sum of their parts.
Yeah.
So how can you say it's not one person?
The running backs and the wide receivers that he's played with over the years that have gone on to somewhere else and done nothing, there's just something about that chemistry and the way he did it. And I thought it was a Brady Belichick thing, but then I saw him do it in Tampa Bay. And I'm like, you know what? He's a generational quarterback. Aaron Rodgers is good. Drew Brees is good, but I don't see them have the impact on every other offensive player the way Brady did.
Okay, we got to stop because Lisa will go on for hours, and we got to just stop right now. You know how she is about these things.
That is true.
Like, you don't want to hear it.
True.
Plus, I see in my little queue here that our special guest has arrived. Yay, Jeanna! Welcome in.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Oh my gosh, we are so excited. We have been so jacked. The minute Sonia said, "Oh my gosh, Jeanna said she would come on," I'm like, yes, we're so excited about it.
I'm excited that anybody is excited to talk to me.
Oh my gosh. Well, let me tell you, we have a lot to talk with you about. For those who don't know, this is Jeanna Kelley. She works for SBNation. She has as many opinions as we do, and we love her for it. And we're so, Sonia, how excited are we to have her?
We're so excited. So I think that's a lot of so and a lot of exclamation marks, because I do everything with exclamation marks. So yes. First off, though, before we get going on the hardcore question, actually, we have one hardcore question for you, Jeanna. Do you have a Kickers jersey?
A Kickers jersey?
Yeah.
I don't, but I
like her. I like her immediately.
Yeah,
I can stay for the rest of her time.
I don't have one, but I considered it. A few years ago, I had like a sponsorship deal with Procter & Gamble, and they paid me an NFL Shop gift cards. And I really debated a Matt Bryant jersey because I was like, this is free money. Like, I can do whatever I want with it. And I had so much but to spend. I was like, I don't even know what don't I have. That's the only thing that I didn't buy.
So what you're saying is you wouldn't spend money on a Kickers jersey.
Stop.
Yes, I would not spend my money on a Kickers jersey, but if I could get one for free, I would wear it proudly.
One job.
I just have nothing to say about this, Lisa.
One job.
I don't know. Y'all are making me rethink my stance, because I was Team Lisa on this, but my Browns have the Scottish Hammer, and now I'm kind of thinking maybe I need to get me a number 7 Jamie Gillan jersey this season. Just to wear it for the podcast and aggravate Lisa.
Kickers are people too. Now that we got that out of the way.
Lesser people than everybody else.
So real quick,
hand out water in
give
between.
us a little bit of No, stop it. Let me talk. Now, real quick, Jeanna, do you want to just give us a little bit of background about you, how you got to SBNation, et cetera, et cetera?
Sure. I actually worked in the wedding industry before I got into sports media. I was the director of communications and business development at a small wedding and private events venue. Got laid off during the economic downturn. I was fortunate enough at the time that my ex-husband could support the family. I didn't have to work, so I just started blogging about the Falcons. And I spent a lot of time at training camp, and I ended up getting a message from Dave Choate at Falcoholic, who's been the editor there since the site began. And he asked me if I would mind writing up some of my thoughts. And I did. And even though it was like 1,600 words of gibberish, it was the first thing that I ever wrote on the internet. And definitely my first attempt at like football analysis. People liked it. And so he basically offered me a spot on the masthead then. So I started out, just writing for them occasionally. But I took it pretty seriously and eventually got credentialed with Falcons. And then that got SBNation's attention since I was in their network, and they offered me a part-time job writing about football. Then that became a full-time job. And since then I've got promoted into other roles, but now I'm back with my first love, which is, running our NFL site. So that's it's the short story, but yeah, that's how I landed there.
That's perfect.
It's funny to me. Yeah. It's funny to me how so many people got into, all four of us included, got into writing football because we were vocal about what we were seeing, and someone said, "Oh, will you please come write that down for us?" Yeah. I think people would be shocked at how many times that actually happens. I love it. I love that.
Love. So let's get into it. So we're going to start off with the Washington football team. They're in my division, the NFC East, because I cover the NFC East and the NFC North. So we're going to hit them because they've got a lot going on these past couple of weeks. It started off a while ago with a lot of sexual assault allegations and things like that. Finally led to an NFL investigation that said, hey, yeah, there's some pretty shady things going on. And the one thing that always kind of gave me pause was how they always found that one cheerleader that was like, well, I never got treated that way, so nothing's been going on. And everybody's like, see, that's their one. She said there's nothing happening, so there's nothing happening. But yeah, so why don't you go ahead and tell us your feelings on the whole Washington football situation, Jeanna?
Well, first of all, and I would apologize to Washington football team fans for this, except I think that they mostly agree with me. I think Dan Snyder has been a terrible owner. I think that, I think that his lack of quality leadership at the top of the organization is sort of the underlying reason for all of this. I actually don't know that much about his wife specifically, but from the little bit that I've read in the past week, she actually seems to have a really good head on her shoulders. I know she's been very involved with the team's charitable efforts. I do think that having a woman's perspective in that top spot is going to make a difference, but their culture is just a problem. And I think that they have a lot of, bad things to undo there. So they've really got their work cut out for them. I was a little bit surprised that they didn't do a written report on the investigation, that it was just an oral report. I did a lot of research into the NFL's investigative process when the Ezekiel Elliott suspension was happening, because I handled that beat for SBNation. And this just seems really weird. I don't know why there's no written report. I would feel better about it if I had something that I could read and see what did they dig into? What were the actual findings? But I hope, especially for the sake of the women who are employed by that team, that there's a real culture shift starting to happen. So, yeah, that's been a whole mess. And for everybody's sake there, Ron Rivera is a coach that I have a lot of respect for. And I think that, from the football side of things, I definitely trust him to uphold, a reasonable standard of behavior. But as far as the whole football organization itself, they've got a lot of work to do there.
And I have to say, I was really surprised when Ron Rivera took that job. I was interested in what they said to him to make him okay, because we had been hearing about these things for a while, and he seems to come off as a guy with a, high moral standard, and, he, is very well respected from everyone in the league. And I thought to myself, literally, what the heck kind of a story did they sell him? Because unless it was, we are going to give you control. And to see the improvement from that team last year, it kind of feels like that may be what happened. I have a question for you, Jeanna, on that thing. So there was a lot of people out there who said that having Snyder's wife take over was just kind of a PR stunt. But I also read in between that she is amazingly business savvy. Do you think that, let's say he hadn't had a wife who could pull this off, that Dan Snyder would have maybe been pushed out of the team completely?
I think that it's entirely possible. And I think the timing of his wife's promotion was not coincidental. No. Because they announced that before the results of the investigation were released. And so I think that it was a preemptive move, an attempt at self-preservation for Snyder. As far as your question about, but maybe it could be just a PR move, or, is she really business savvy enough to handle this role? I really think that it's probably both. just from everything that I've read about her. You know, I don't have anything negative to say about her from what I've read about her so far. But I still think that the PR aspect behind it was definitely a motivating factor.
I only have one bad thing to say about her. She's married to Dan Snyder. Oh, anyway, we're
That's fair.
That is fair.
That a little bit. Just rethink it just a little bit. All right, Sonia, I'm sorry I interrupted you.
No. That's fine. That's totally fine. Because, you know, you just kind of, like you said, my husband was a long time Washington football team fan. And then when Dan Snyder took over, that's all I ever heard was like, he's horrible. He's trash. And especially once he hired Steve Spurrier, that was it. The Washington football Redskins at the time were dead to him. Yeah. And he's a big Florida State guy. So yeah, once Steve Spurrier got there, they were done. He was done. So yeah. So I mean, there's just been a lot going on, and I think in terms of Ron Rivera's coming to coach, and I think that they picked him specifically, obviously because of his, you know, his moral standard, his moral high ground, and just, you know, to turn the football part of it around. And like you guys said, he has done such a fantastic job with that. And it's just the rest of the team that's got to get cleaned up. And I really hope that they clean it up from the inside out, because it's rotten. It's pretty rotten. Lisa, how are your feelings on this? It's rotten.
Well, with me, I think
unless it's about a quarterback, Lisa doesn't care.
I'm good.
That's true.
You know what bothers me? And are we ready to move on to the next segment?
Yeah, feel free. Go ahead.
Right into it, and which what we wanted to talk to Jeanna about. To me, it's hard trying to wrap my head around it, because it's like, okay, it's clearly she was brought in as a PR. I'm sorry. It was. I'm not even going to sugarcoat that. It's disheartening as a woman in this field. It's disheartening with what's going on with Rachel Nichols right now, because this ties right into it again. Once again, women are being played as pawns, and it's we're just going to hire a woman that'll make us look good. You know, now we had a woman in Rachel Nichols who actually spoke out against another woman with ESPN in a leaked audio. Rachel Nichols is white, and she reportedly criticized ESPN last year for choosing Maria Taylor, who is a Black ESPN reporter, for Maria's place in the NBA Finals. Now, this just baffles me, because what I hate about it, and it kind of gets very emotional for me, because it's like, how do you think Maria Taylor feels right now? Right. Honestly, okay? Yeah. This woman is not only fighting being a woman in this industry, she's a Black woman in this industry. And now you have a white woman that pretty much just threw you under the bus. You know, where is her head right now? And I trust me, I love that she's not making a comment or making statements, because how many times I wonder, has this happened to this woman? You know, how she could have easily turned this around on Rachel Nichols, saying, well, last year you took my job. You know, so it's like, poor Rachel Nichols. You know what? Bullshit. You know, you threw that woman on the bus. You deserve everything you're getting right now. That's what I got to say.
Do you actually have a question for Jeanna, or you just wanted to rant about it?
I was just saying. And so I'd like Jeanna's opinion on that. I guess you are seeing a lot of sympathy for now.
I've been writing to Jeanna. It's been really good, and it's a hard situation.
It is a hard situation, and just like right off the cuff, I agree with you 100%. And my immediate knee-jerk reaction to that was, how can you look at somebody as talented as Maria Taylor and say she only got this role because she's Black? I mean, that's offensive to me. I've watched Maria Taylor on too many broadcasts. She's incredibly talented. She's a former All-SEC athlete herself. She understands the game innately. And so any opportunity that Maria Taylor gets is based on merit, period, full stop.
Exactly.
I think that there's still, and I think that Rachel Nichols made a big mistake, and I was very disappointed in the words she chose to complain about it. Even just venting to a friend about race being the motivating factor for that was definitely something she deserves criticism for. I think that there's also room to criticize ESPN for creating this like Highlander, there can be only one woman on a broadcast mentality. Because I think that at the core of it, aside from bias, which I think definitely existed for Rachel Nichols in this case, aside from bias, I think that that's the root cause. There are only so many opportunities for women in sports media. And when they treat us like just tokens and just people that they have to hire to check a box, that creates this kind of a situation and that kind of tension between colleagues. It's a very toxic and unhealthy situation. And so I think that there's room to discuss it from both of those angles.
Do you think they can move on, though? Do you think they can both put this past them? Or do you think this is going to be the elephant in the room always now?
Maria's contract is up on July 20th, and I do not think that she will return to ESPN. That's just my opinion. I don't like have any inside knowledge. That is what I would do. I would be out of there. I would not want to work for them anymore because it's also been a very long and drawn out contract negotiation process and not very friendly. And so, I think that she is probably not going to be with ESPN for more than a couple of more weeks at this point. And so, I don't think that they do recover from this. I think Rachel will. I think Maria will, but somewhere other than ESPN.
Right. Makes sense. It's interesting. ESPN seems to have been losing people, a lot of quality people over the last few years. And much like Washington, maybe they need to do a little internal looking themselves, I think for sure. All right. I am going to actually talk to you about a quarterback. And first, you need to understand me. Don't like them. Think they get way too much credit. I'm a defense lover. And so Lisa and I fight about this all the time. But this has been my favorite story of the offseason. And so I'm just going to ask you a very simple question. Is Aaron Rodgers returning to Green Bay?
Okay, so it's a good thing that my neighbor asks me this over the fence like every day. So I have a lot of practice answering this question. I'm like, Pat, I told you yesterday. I do not think he will play for Green Bay this year.
Home improvement.
I do not think he does not want to play for Green Bay. I think that they have burned that bridge with him by drafting Jordan Love and other decisions that they've made. And he is talking a lot this offseason about like finding his peace and focusing on his mental health. And I think for him, part of that, because he's been adamant he does not want to play for Green Bay this year, I think that that's part of it for him. And so I do not expect him. I expect him to sit out.
You don't think he'll play at all?
If they won't trade him, and I mean, his fate really is in their hands because they do own the rights to him. I think that they would be foolish not to trade him because I think that they're in a position like from Denver to get a pretty good haul. They're so quarterback desperate. So I think that they would be dumb to not trade him. But if they don't, I just don't think that he'll play. I think that he'll sit out and maybe, host Jeopardy a few times, play some golf, spend time with his fiance, Shailene Woodley. I think that he'll just take a year off and enjoy himself and then come back next year.
So funny you say that. I never even considered in my head that he wouldn't play. I just assumed he'd play somewhere else. But you're right. And actually, I was watching the golf match that's on right before we came on, which was making me very homesick. I am from Montana. And so seeing all that, I'm like, I really need to get home. But and so I'm watching that and I looked at Aaron Rodgers. He didn't look like he's going to play football. Like his hair's all scruffy and he looked real skinny. Like I was like, all right, Aaron,
I thought the same thing. I thought the same thing when I saw the photos. And I know like he does probably look a little bit slimmer next to Bryson DeChambeau, but still like
who doesn't?
Yeah, true. That guy's jacked.
Yeah, for sure. All right. So now you are an Atlanta Falcons fan. You're an Atlanta sports fan.
I'm an Atlanta sports fan.
She's Atlanta based. Yeah.
I'm
trying to get there, by the way. Hopefully I'll be able to move there, but that's another story.
Well, it's a great city and I've got tons of recommendations. So
good, because my daughter might end up there too. That's another conversation. So, but talk to me about the Falcons. So Julio Jones gone. Matt Ryan, old, sorta. Sort of old, right?
We're not pulling any punches here on the podcast.
In quarterback years, he's getting up there. He is getting up there. And,
hasn't been the same since that Super Bowl, right? He has not been the same since that Super Bowl. And Tom Brady moving into this division Tom is getting free real estate in Matt Ryan's head every single day.
I mean, the Falcons, he was actually very good the year after the Super Bowl, but I think that the key was Kyle Shanahan left, and then they brought in Steve Sarkisian. So they had a year really of Matt adapting to an offensive coordinator. There's always a learning curve. Matt was bad in 2015 and Shanahan's first year in Atlanta.
Yeah.
And then, so he was still fine that next year, but then they brought back Dirk Cutter, and he was the least creative and least interesting play caller. I don't know why they brought him back. Like, this man used to throw fades in the end zone to Jaquiz Rodgers, who was the only player I didn't have to crane my neck to look up at. I'm like, what? In the locker room, I'm like, why are you throwing this guy? You might as well throw him to me. Like, I can't catch him either. That doesn't make it. They don't even pay me to do this, and I know it's a bad idea. So.
All I can say is Justin Fields was on the board for you.
Podcast permanently.
Sure. I do love Justin Fields. I'm a big Ohio State fan. Lifelong Ohio State. You might even see like I've got bobbleheads back here and all kinds of stuff. But anyway, but Matt,
Stop it, Sonia. Stop it, Sonia, or I will wear my Buckeye gear next Tuesday.
You stepped
We will battle of the Buckeye gear, and I will beat you every time, Michigan scum.
No.
Hey, my husband is a Michigan fan, so I'm very.
Yeah, I call that a mixed marriage.
You married
We have a couple of those around here. When you have a Browns fan married to a Steelers fan, when you have a Michigan fan married to a Buckeyes fan, that's a mixed marriage here in the Midwest.
It is. He's also a Patriots fan, and obviously as a Falcons fan, I had some real hesitation around that. But love conquers all. So.
Yeah,
apparently.
I don't know that it would have in my house.
You're a stronger woman than me. I can handle that.
Well, but anyway, back to the Falcons with bringing in Arthur Smith. So I know, like, I'm also not a huge quarterback fan, but what I am a fan of is the offensive line. And my dad was an offensive line coach when I was growing up. I grew up watching offensive line drills. It's extremely my jam. And so I love his background along the offensive line. I think that that's fundamental to a successful offense. The Falcons line has been bad for the past few years. So I'm really excited about that element of the offense specifically. And they still do have the receiving
talent.
You're
my new best friend. I go to training camp and my friends are there and they're all watching the wide receivers do these and the running backs do these. And I'm standing on the line of scrimmage watching the feet of the lineman. And I'm like, all right, he's not going to make it to the team. He isn't making the 53-man roster. His footwork is terrible. His weight distribution is awful. If you can't win in the trenches, I don't care who, Lisa, you have at quarterback. If you can't,
but Justin Fields would help that. You got a two-tier quarterback. You can move out of that pocket.
Lord.
Yeah, whatever.
Okay, but do the Bears have a line, though? Do the Bears have a line?
Well, they have a line.
To give him time to work on it because he's going to move out of that pocket. He's going to bring, like I said, those mobile quarterbacks. That's what we're moving into. We're moving into this second tier where you can just plug in these offensive line. They're not going to be because look, we've already killed the running backs. We have no more running back league. You know, we're just, this is a quarterback league, and so if you have a two-tier quarterback, that's what it's coming to. Telling you.
See, you say that, and yet when we have our fantasy football draft, everyone before you will take a running back, and you will take a quarterback no matter where you go, just like every other year.
Every day, every year.
And she loses every year. Okay, so Jeanna, I am so sorry you got pulled into the middle of this chaos.
I love it. Please don't apologize.
So let's get back to what I asked her before the Ohio State and Michigan, the quarterbacks all jumped in. So how do you see the Falcons doing this year? Do you think that they'll be improved from last year, excuse me? Or, I mean, is this going to be it? They're going to have to regroup completely?
I think that they're going to be improved this year. Julio Jones actually missed a decent amount of time last year and was also not healthy when he was on the field. So he was not nearly as impactful. Calvin Ridley took a step forward last year. Kyle Pitts, I'm really excited about. I think that the defense will improve under Dean Pease, and they have added some pieces there, like not terribly impressive pieces, but at least like some probably competent guys, which is an upgrade over the past few years. So yeah, I'm thinking somewhere around 500, which is going to be really weird for me because you can't say 8-8 anymore. So it's probably going to be like 7-10.
Oh my God, that's weird.
As someone who has control issues and OCD and who lives for even numbers, I'm not ready for this season. Like, I think that plays into why I love the NFL because you've got 32 teams, which is 2 conferences, which is 4 and it evens everything, divides evenly, and there's 16 games. And this whole 17th game thing is freaking me out.
They're gonna have
I'm not happy.
So I'm trying to think about it this way. With the 3 preseason games, it's 20 games. So it still divides evenly. It annoys me. I hate it. It's going to take me forever to get used to the 17-game season. They'll probably change it back to 16 before I figure it out.
Or bump it to 18. Then we'll all get the math.
We got to start all over again.
I know. Well, yes. Jeanna, we appreciate you taking time and coming and chatting with us. We just rebooted this podcast. We did it for 8 years, and then we took a little break, and now we're back. So we're really excited to have you as our very first guest to our newly rebooted podcast.
So much.
Wonderful.
As you can see on the screen, you can find her at Jeanna Thomas on Twitter, and I love it. I love the way you talk about sports. I love how involved you are with it. It's just so much fun to follow you on Twitter. So I encourage everyone to do it. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Seriously, she's my new best friend.
I know. She sounded just like you.
She is. She's awesome.
Seriously. Offensive line, this, that, and the other. I'm like, oh, God, here goes Kate. Look out. Hold her back. Here it comes. She's adorable. And she knows and so knowledgeable. And I think that this is something that I know the 4 of us have always strided for. What's the word?
Tried to do.
Strive.
Whatever.
Aimed.
Thank you.
Aimed
That's
for,
what I do when I
tried to do. Strive for.
We have strived for. Thank you. Is putting a spotlight on women like that who are in the industry and who are so football knowledgeable, and yet maybe they just aren't as well known as others. And I think that is really important and for us to do. And so, God love her. We need her back on as soon as the season starts.
We do. Question. We need her back because she's amazing.
But it also,
she's great.
I mean, in a way, it highlights even more my frustration with situations like we have with Rachel Nichols and that. Whereas it's hard enough to be a woman in this industry without us ripping at each other. And I see it in my daily life at the regular job I have at the company I work for. The men that I'm friends with, including my husband, are like, women can't work together. They can't get along. You can't have a woman who's your boss because they'll keep you down and they're always fighting and they're this, that, and the other. And it perpetuates that stereotype that we don't help each other out, that we're trying to get on top of each other. And I think the best thing Natalie could do is leave ESPN because they are absolutely creating a culture where they are forcing women to compete with each other for one job. So instead of the women being on the same team and trying to help each other out, they're being put into almost like the gladiators in Rome. They're two women go in, one woman comes out kind of a thing. If we're going to do a Highlander quote, I'm going to give you a Mad Max Thunderdome quote. 2 women go in, one comes out. That's not helpful either.
No, and it's 2 well-respected women.
Yeah.
You know, and it feels like, because I had mad respect for Rachel Nichols. She was somebody I always looked up to, and it set me back with her. I really am having a hard time with her now because in my mind now I'm thinking, does she really think this? Does she really, and it's, and then today's thing with her on the jump and she apologized and threw it right to the 2 black guys. I felt that was tacky. I felt she put them on the spot where she put the spotlight back on her. And I understand her apologizing, but I just feel like Maria Taylor is the victim here because, like I said, she not only has to fight that, she has to fight racism too. Right. And it's like, when is enough?
Well, ESPN they've had a history, of the last few years dealing with people of color and the way they've handled things, and they've tried to stop them from having opinions and all this other, Jamel Hill and just all of that, stuff.
You think of that, you think of Jamel Hill, and you see it all the time. And as a Black woman, you for sure see it all the time, regardless of the field that you are in. You are going to see it, and that's you're going to see it.
And what makes it harder when you're dealing with something like whether it's the situation with the Washington football team or even ESPN. I'm a data analyst. If I find this kind of an issue at my day job, I can just go get another job somewhere else. There are a lot of companies that are hiring data analysts. The NFL, Major League Baseball, the NBA, it is such a small market and there are so few. to put it in terms Lisa can understand, there are only 32 starting jobs for quarterbacks. So there are only so many spots. If you're not happy with the way ESPN's treating you as a woman, as a Black woman, as an African American, where are you going to go? You know what I mean? So I think a lot of women put up with things that we would not put up with in our day jobs because we have options that they don't in this.
I agree. That's absolutely true.
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you this, to all of our, I always just say listeners because we always had a video. So all of our watchers now,
viewers.
These four women here in front of you have managed to work together and make it work for 10 years. So kudos to us.
We still get mad at each other. Don't think we're happy all the time. We've had some interesting back and forth conversations, but ultimately it's never a personal attack. It's always about ideas and opinions and stuff. And I think that's why the four of us get along, is because we all feel completely comfortable keeping it 100% real all the time. And basically we just all love football.
And the reason that we can do that is because we don't have the outside pressures that like the ESPN brings in.
Completely.
So, all right. So let's get back and talk about football just a little bit again. So, because we could talk about this for hours. You guys have no idea. So I read today, there was an article that came out from CBS. It was Cody Benjamin. I always like to make sure I give credit for that. Of teams that are being the most underrated or overlooked teams going into this season, which I'm not going to lie, cracked me up when I read it. I'm not going to lie. Okay. I'm just being 100%. Now there's one I completely agree with that I have on there, and that is the Indianapolis Colts. So that was one of the first ones. 2020 record was 11-5. So here's my question. How can they be underrated when they went 11-5 last year? Like that doesn't make any sense.
They lost Phillip Rivers.
Yep. They lost Phillip Rivers.
So
I say that
I'm gonna echo Dana, and your point is,
I mean, Phillip's a hell of a football player.
I know, but he's in that division that were 11-5 or 10-6.
They replaced him with Carson Wentz.
What you say?
I never said Phillip Rivers was a whiny brat. I would never say that. I don't know why you would ever think
he
that.
brought his team to 11-5.
Live up to his potential, but that's okay. You took out Phillip Rivers and you plugged in Carson Wentz.
Right.
Yes.
At worst, the talent level is equal. I think it's an upgrade, especially because he's younger, if he can stay healthy. But the rest of that team is solid.
Yes.
The rest of the team is very sound.
Not enough.
And I will tell you this. Not only do you have Carson Wentz, but you have a pissed off Carson Wentz. And so I think that at least the first half of the season could be real fun. I think that could be real fun. So I agreed with them on that.
And he has a solid O-line. there too.
Yes.
That's
solid.
True.
So
the next team that they mentioned on there was the Minnesota Vikings. They went 7-9 last season.
Poor Kirk Cousins, he's never going to get credit for anything.
They're not going to win 8 games this year. I'll underrate them all day.
Let me talk before she jumps in on the damn quarterback. Okay, so yes, we have Kirk Cousins. He says he posted Pro Bowl numbers. I'm just going to let that be. Okay. But here's the thing is my question. They have a lot. Sorry. They have a lot of really good players on that team. So they are what the four of us lovingly say are shiny on paper, right? But they also lost some good players. I think they might rebound if Aaron Rodgers is not in that division next year.
Jesus.
I still like.
I agree. I will agree.
Yeah. But they have Hunter back. Yeah. They have, Dalvin Cook still, Justin Jefferson. They could be a good team. I think that they are a good team. They're solid. I just don't know that they can ever make it go together or work together. Now, here's the last two that really I have met loss of words. And so you guys are going to have to help me on this. The other two teams he has listed are the Philadelphia Eagles, who were 4-11-1 last year. And the Denver Broncos. Now, I'm wondering, they put the Denver Broncos in here, who were 5-11 last year, because they think Aaron Rodgers is going to play for them next year. Because otherwise, I'm not quite sure. So we have Drew Lock and Teddy Bridgewater. Okay. Teddy Bridgewater, just let him play. And so then if you look, they got Jerry Jeudy, who I loved last year. Loved Jerry Jeudy. Okay. Von Miller will be playing this year. They have Bradley Chubb. They have Kyle Fuller, Cortland Sutton. I can't even get over the Eagles, though, you guys. I keep looking. Like, I'm not quite sure what they think, other than Brandon Graham, who should be a Seattle Seahawk. I'm just going to say that out loud.
They're just pinning all their hopes on Jalen Hurts.
Say they have Jalen Hurts. They have their wide receiver. His wide receiver. What's his name?
Devontae Smith.
Yeah,
That guy.
That guy.
They have him.
The one that catches?
The one that catches the ball that they played with in Alabama. So they have a chemistry. They have a relationship. They have, I'm hoping that it all comes together. We'll see. And
to me, when you put someone on an underrated list,
head coach.
Yeah, if you're going to put a team on an underrated list, to me, it means you think they have a chance to win that division. Now, maybe that's not what they meant, but to me, that's what I think. If you say, oh, they're really underrated, it means I'm not giving them a chance to win the division, and the author thinks they can. And I don't think, with the exception of the Colts, that the other three teams that we mentioned have a shot at winning their division this year.
So their criteria was that not all of them should be considered realistic candidates to win it all, but they'd be surprised if these four didn't surprise plenty of people this year. So they just are expecting them, I'm assuming, to do better, because we know that the Chiefs are, unless disaster hits, the Chiefs are going to win their division. And when you look at the Eagles, I mean, everyone thinks it's going to be the Cowboys. Oh, wait and see. And then, we have.
But I really don't think that the Cowboys. I don't feel that.
I don't either.
I'm
with you.
I mean, honestly, I would give the Giants a much better chance than the Cowboys.
Well, this is going to be Daniel Jones' last chance, that's for sure.
Well, the Eagles are young.
Exactly.
Like you said, it was Devonta Smith who they drafted. So I think that they're riding the bases maybe on their young talent, because Dallas got Dak back, so that's going to be a huge thing for Dak. I mean, they definitely suffered talent,
but for me,
I'm not saying he's the coming, but he's a lot better than what they had.
Okay, but for me, my problem with Philly is the coaching is the same coaching they've had for the last 3 years. I could take a game plan from 3 years ago and watch him do it again this year. They haven't changed up anything. There's nothing innovative going on. It's the same old offense, same old defense every week. And that may have gotten them into the playoffs and done really well for them a couple years ago. It's not now. And I feel I feel like the Eagles are a team that could lose their head coach midseason this year.
Didn't they just lose their head coach? Yeah, didn't he just start last year? But I see what you're saying, because the plan, it doesn't, they can keep putting different coaches in there. It seems to me that it's the same plan for everything.
Yeah, I agree.
Without question. Yeah. But it'll be interesting, with Carson Wentz gone, to see what they do. All right, you guys, we got to go. I'm sorry to cut it short, but there's finals of other sports going on. Like, anyone really cares? I'm just kidding. NBA, NHL people do not. Just kidding. I don't.
Go Suns.
5.
Go
Suns in 5.
Phoenix in 5. Spelled Phive.
Oh,
I like
maybe.
that.
I don't even know. So next week, I believe. Hey, stop! I'm trying to wrap up here, people.
I'm trying to get them two to calm down.
I know. So next week we have Ashley Petty. Now, if you guys do not know who Ashley Petty is, you need to find her on Twitter. You need to follow her. She is a Buffalo Bills super fan, and I'm kind of sad that I'm going to miss next week. I'm leaving her in the hands of these three. Lord help them.
Leave her to me, baby.
Here's the thing. I'm dying to know why she thinks Josh Allen should be ranked above Aaron Rodgers in quarterbacks. I just want to know. I just want to
handle that. I'm
honest to God, she will, and I love her. She's my favorite.
She's going to give us a good reason. She will.
I know. She will. Yeah.
Is she going to jump off a truck and onto a pool onto a?
Yeah, we got to have her open with that. We have to.
We got to open with that.
Super fan if you don't open the
Ashley, you don't have to open with that, okay? Ashley,
yeah, we're opening with it.
Probably want to close with that, right?
She jumps to a table. She's not coming on show until she jumps to a table. Prove to us you're a super fan. Break that table, baby.
Dana, when did you lose control of this show?
The minute I let you people on. Good God. All right, everyone. We will see you next Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central. Goodbye, everybody.
Peace.